Yo everyone, welcome, Sanju Che here, back at it again. We're a few days shy of Boruto manga chapter 68, and I thought I'd come on and, reinvigorate the Boruto side of discussions here on the channel. Of course, welcome to everyone that's, returning subscribers, new subscribers, shout out to you. Apparently we're at 1700 subs now, so respect in all aspects. But let's get into it. Of course, leave your thoughts below, and I guess your predictions for the upcoming chapter in general. But let's see if we can spark some discussion amongst ourselves. So chapter 67 ended the most recent conflict when it came on to Borushiki, Kawaki, Shikamaru, Naruto, and for the most part it does seem like the threat of Boruto's body being taken over by Momoshiki has finally been extinguished, and Kawaki regaining the powers of the karma, essentially putting Boruto and Kawaki, coming out of this conflict with a new level of power, arguably speaking the strongest persons on the planet right now, all things considered. So I guess in the grand scheme of things, we do have a nice foundation going forward when it comes on to Boruto and Kawaki from a power standpoint. But when it comes on to the events of chapter 68, like, the question is what's going to happen now? Of course, the immediate threats of Code and Ida and Damon still exist, and that's something that we'll definitely be talking about in this video here. But let's see if we can dissect all the things that are on the table and what we can expect for the upcoming chapter. So like I've essentially talked about in recent discussions, relatively speaking, but again, I'll repeat for the sake of this video. With Naruto and company going back to the village, there's a nice foundation for emotional conflict when it comes down to the Uzumaki household, between Kawaki and the Uzumaki household, and Kawaki and the village, and Kawaki and the ninja world by extension, because at the end of the day, Kawaki did kill Boruto, and to be honest, I don't see there being a lot of emotional conflict between Boruto and Kawaki, but I do see that being the case between Naruto and Kawaki, if even for a short period of time, especially between Kawaki and Shikamaru as well, because it's not the first time Kawaki's mental states and the extremes that he would go to have been brought up. Of course, in previous chapters we've seen Amado and Shikamaru talk about how Kawaki's devotion to Naruto it isn't healthy, and I think Shikamaru is going to take that much more into consideration right now going forward, and I think it's the perfect time to really set up Kawaki to go down the path that we see him in the flash forward, even though I still believe he's not evil per se, but he's more than like taking some extreme measures that Boruto has caught Boruto by surprise, to say the least. But the point is, Kawaki now has the power to drive the plot, to drive the narrative. He doesn't have to be a reactionary character, and with Shikamaru's concerns about him, I do see that becoming a nice place for conflict, to say the least, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that's going to actually not fully unfold but start up in chapter 68, to say the least. So that's one thing I'm looking forward to, and of course with Shikamaru's concerns, that's more like going to be conveyed to the other Kage in the next 5 Kage summit, because we have to have a 5 Kage summit or a 5 Kage Discord call or something going forward. So that's going to be conveyed, and I can see conflict brewing between Kawaki and Konoha and the ninja villages by extension, if in some shape or form, given the events of what happened here in this recent exchange. So that's one thing. Of course, I do see Kawaki confronting Amado at some point to discuss things in terms of him getting back the karma without Kawaki's consent. And of course, we might get a glimpse of how things tie into the long term when it comes down to Amado's long-term plans, because no matter how you slice and dice, the man is always sus. So obviously with every piece of dialogue that Amado has conveyed to us, the readers, over the last few chapters, it's heavily implied that he has some long-term plan, and I expect chapter 68 might dive into that, because we kind of spent a lot of time away from the village for the last 4 months. So I'm imagining Kishimoto is going to want to kind of just give us at least some breadcrumbs of Amado, and potentially tie back in Kashin Koji into the whole ordeal, especially with the cyborg that Amado is working on. So that's another piece on the table to actually consider for chapter 68, potentially speaking. Sasuke is also another topic of discussion because, of course, he only appeared in chapter 63. Correct me if I'm wrong, but that one chapter where he was, trying to locate Code's marks, and he was talking to that one Leaf Shinobi and things. So yeah. So I expect Sasuke to at least make a reappearance or something, start contributing back to the narrative, and potentially have a discussion with Naruto in terms of what happened on the battlefield, and probably start charting out some direction in which Naruto and Sasuke's character is going to go in terms of their contribution to the narrative. Because yes, we're quote-unquote writing them out, but I don't see them becoming completely useless like anytime soon either. So there needs to be some path that's charted for them in terms of where they're going to go in terms of relevance to the story, specifically or especially when it comes on to fighting ability, all of that jazz and blues. So, and who knows, that still might tie him back to the cyborg that Amado is building. So a lot of things to actually consider for chapter 68, and of course there's a lot, so more than likely this whole discussion can encompass like chapter 68, 69, 70, 71, like essentially over the course of the next Boruto volume, because I believe we are entering with chapter 68 the start of a new volume. So yeah, so there is definitely that. Of course there is the issue of Code, Ida, and Daemon. And some time ago I did do a theory or discussion video talking about that Shikamaru might die. I still think that might be the case based on how things are set up and how Code's powers work. In terms of how Kawaki explained, his blood is still kind of somewhat a part of the his markings. So given that, if memory serves right, I do believe that Code did cause Shikamaru to bleed a little when he had him hostage. My thinking is that maybe the basis or some foundation of what makes his claw marks be able to be laid out, he might have injected it into Shikamaru, and he'll use that as a way to actually gain access to Konoha after Ida probably confirms Shikamaru's in Amado's general vicinity. You can go now, and probably transfers via Shikamaru's body, and then Shikamaru dies as a result. That's what I'm thinking. But I mean, if we're still going to go with the whole let's build up to Shikamaru's potential death, probably he'll just appear out of Shikamaru's body and Shikamaru will be fine or something like that. But considering that there isn't any mark on Shikamaru visibly that they can take notice of, and you would imagine persons at the level of Shikamaru's level right now would have noticed something like that or something, it still has me thinking that the claw mark or whatever Code has seemingly put on Shikamaru, because it's heavily implied by the end of chapter 67 that Code has a backup plan to get close to Amado, and the panel kind of focuses on Shikamaru mainly when he's saying that. So it has me thinking that Code transporting to Konoha is going to kill Shikamaru, and I don't know, that is kind of like a messy way to go out, but if they do something like that, I'm just hoping Kishimoto handles Shikamaru's death with, I don't know, a certain style, I know you said like no character from the previous generation is safe, but let's do it in style, at least something along the lines of that. So let me know what you guys are mostly looking forward to out of everything I've talked about. At least for the immediate chapter, what would you want to see the most? Because we have a lot of things on the table, crazy enough. Again, from an emotional conflict standpoint, and going at odds with Kawaki, who now has the power to make his decisions. He doesn't have to wait. He's arguably the strongest person now, arguably speaking. I mean, he's going to be in conflict with Naruto to a degree, Shikamaru, and potentially other villages, maybe based on Shikamaru's assessment of him, and Shikamaru's word is obviously gold. It's gold, so other Kages are going to take things into consideration. The village is going to take things into consideration. Is Sasuke coming back? Sasuke Naruto's path going forward. Boruto, what things mean for him right now. Akashi and Koji, Amado's long-term plans, the new cyborg code and what they'll do like right away. I mean, there's so many things to consider, but honestly, I do see things being balanced between the conflict, emotionally speaking, between Kawaki and Shikamaru slash Uzumaki household slash Konoha, and potentially getting a bit of Sasuke and Amado focus for this coming chapter. Because I don't know, based on how Kishimoto has been writing things from chapter 54 till right before this recent conflict, I see him switching back to that, like slowing down the pace just a bit to kind of cover all bases before ranking up the action, with Code probably coming in and getting his limiters removed again. So yeah, but anyway, let me know what you thought or what you think and your expectations and predictions for the upcoming chapter and by extension the upcoming volume. Let's get a discussion started. Anyway, hope you guys have an awesome day. Leave a like, subscribe, share the video out, and I'll see you in the next Boruto video.